So let's have a candid conversation about liberalism. Now, I know it's funny to joke and make memes about liberalism and say it's a mental disorder. And I do want to get that Mark Dice shirt because it's hilarious. But I think of liberalism more as a phenomenon than anything else, right? I haven't been in politics that long. It's only been about a year or so since I've zoomed out and I really got a chance to see what's going on. And when I think about liberalism and everything that the left stands for, I see it as a phenomenon because the left is so ideologically inconsistent. They apply the rules arbitrarily. They don't enforce the rules on their side. They make it up as they go along. And oftentimes it's rooted in emotion. Like that entire ideology is emotionally driven. And it makes sense why people are running away from it. They're no longer walking away. They're running away from it because it's scary that a politician can get into power and stand for nothing but whatever is the flavor of the month. Like, what are we pushing this week? What's popular this month? What's racist this month? What's sexist this month? What's politically convenient for me to raise, awareness and get people all worked up? See, it's because they don't believe in anything. They don't stand for anything truly. And you see it every day. You see it with how they cared so much about sexual assault and believing all women when it was politically convenient for them during the Kavanaugh case. But now that this Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax has been accused, they're like, well, it's from a while ago and maybe we shouldn't believe her. Maybe we should just let the evidence and let the process play out. Let them take it to the courts or whatever. That tells me that they don't really care about sexual assault victims. They care about it as it relates to political leverage. Same thing with racism and everything else. They just kind of roll with the punches and they don't actually stand for anything. Like when I think about conservatives, right? The conservatism and emotions. Yeah, we all have emotions. My emotions change several times a day, but at the end of the day, I'm grounded in principalities. Those things don't change. And that's why I prefer to have a principled conservative politician that shares my values and beliefs, as opposed to someone who does what feels good, right? They want to push policies and ideologies and they operate within the framework of feelings. Like it feels good to push for this Green New Deal. They don't care if it does good. They care that it feels good. And that scares me. That should scare anyone, to have someone who has an expanding and growing amount of power that's operating within the framework of feelings, not within the framework of principles, and limiting the government. Instead, they want to grow the government, expand that footprint. We need to be limiting the size and scope of government. And so why I think it's a phenomenon is just, I could see how it captivates the youth. You notice how Bernie Sanders, when he was running in 2016, they were bragging and talking so highly about how Bernie Sanders had the support of millennials and college students. Well, college students are young. They haven't lived in the world long enough. They're probably still on their parents' insurance. But older people tend to be more conservative. So that there's that saying that says, if you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart. If you're not conservative when you're older, you have no brain. I think the phenomenon is, how do you go from being young and emotional, like we all were when we were kids? How do you grow up and still act on emotions and make decisions based on feelings? Which again, like I said before, they fluctuate. Your feelings always change. Your emotions are always changing. And you're at the mercy of those emotions if that's what you hold firm to. How do you not shift into something more critical? Like, wait a minute, hold up. Does that make sense in practice? It sounds good, but if we put it in practice, how does that work out? The critical thinking never really turns on for the left. And again, this isn't everyone on the left, but you have to wonder how someone can actually be on the left and stand with the modern day left and be a critical thinker. That's not an insult. That's just I'm saying we need to probably do a case study on modern day liberalism, because they're always shifting the goalposts. What they stand for today, they may not stand for tomorrow. Going back to that sexual assault allegation stuff and Me Too movement, if it's politically convenient, they're all for it. So it's a phenomenon to me. Now let's talk about the other phenomenon that everyone wants to deny and pretend like, oh, this rise of Donald Trump is just this white supremacy backlash to a changing America that's turning more brown. People are backlashing across the world. There is a backlash to the left and their secular way of trying to govern. This global governance, this ideology, this one world, migration is a human right. You're seeing a rise in nationalism, populism, and traditionalism around the world. It's not just unique to the United States. It's happening in Brazil, happening in Austria, Italy, lots of countries in Europe, South America, Japan, Korea. They don't want globalism. They don't want to be governed by an unelected, unaccountable bureaucracy from afar that's telling them what to do and how to govern their people, and let's raise taxes on oil, and let's try to rid our country of this. But it's all coming from the left, and there's the phenomenon that's happening worldwide is an awakening, right? People are starting to see this world for what it is, this realm, this prism, this matrix that we're all imprisoned in. They're starting to zoom out and see what it really is. It's dark, nefarious forces that are trying to drive evil. You know, what the left calls good is really evil when it comes down to it. There is nobody that can convince me that abortion is somehow something that not only shouldn't be shamed, but should be celebrated, like we need to cheerlead it. That doesn't make any sense. You know, terminating human life is the work of Satan. No matter how you slice it, no matter if it's an unborn child or someone that's an adult outside of the womb, it is rooted in evil. And so when I think about those that are stuck in their little validation feedback loop, just watching MSNBC all day and turning on, CNN, and then they read the New York Times, and they're like, yep, Trump's racist. I still hate Republicans. They're bad people. Liberals are good people. I love them. I hate conservatives. I hate Christians. All these people are bad and my side is good. They're stuck on this like team sport politics stuff. It's nonsense. It's not about that. It's about good and evil and what the root cause is, where it comes from. Again, going back to why I prefer to have a God-fearing, principled conservative in a position of power, because power corrupts, absolutely. I don't want to butcher that quote, but there's a quote that says when someone's in power, you're going to be corrupted. So you have to have limitations on your ability to govern and shape the lives of other people. But if you don't have limited government, you'll have unlimited government. And the left stands for unlimited government. If you look at that Green New Deal, that is just wildly insane. There's so much to unpack with that Green New Deal. I'm not even going to get into it. But the fact that it's coming from someone who's so young, someone who's very charismatic. I believe AOC is a charismatic person. I mean, it's hard not to listen to her when she talks, even though half the things she says are just insane. But she has this liberal ideology. She uses these utopian concepts like, everyone's going to have a house that's just perfect, and everyone's going to have access to all these things. And I believe that if the right people are in power, the world can be a better place. And I couldn't fundamentally disagree with that more, because there's always going to be unequal outcomes no matter who is in charge. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be unequal outcomes. My favorite example that I like to use is you can have 4 kids growing up in the same household under the same parents, stability. They get the same amount of food, the same amount of love, hugs, education. They can all go to the same school. You're going to have 4 unequal outcomes amongst those kids. One might be a lawyer. One might be a drug addict. One might be a school teacher. One might be a millionaire. 2 might be a millionaire. One might not have any kids. One might get sick and die early. You never know. There's going to be unequal outcomes because That's just nature. That is the way the world is. That's the divine order of things. And I can only speak for me personally, but I believe most conservatives, most people who are operating under principles and they're using their brain and logic and critical thinking, they understand that some things just are. And you can't artificially manipulate it to create some utopian society. It doesn't exist. So because we're comfortable with reality, it's much easier to move along and navigate the world. And I believe it creates happier people when you operate within that framework. But on the left, the world is always on fire. They're always trying to put out some fire. And where there is no fire, they create the fire. They spark the fire, but then they show up dressed as firefighters. They always need to save the day. And I want to get to the root of that. I believe the root of that might be insecurity. It's the need to find some sort of value within themselves, because they're not operating within the framework of maybe something spiritual, something greater than themselves, something like a religion. This is why they want to ban Christianity, because if you can ban Christianity, then you won't have anything opposed to your secular egalitarian vision of how you want the world to be. This is the reason why China doesn't have any opposition parties. You know, the Chinese Communist Party, there's no opposition party, and it's because they want to ban Christianity, or they want a state-run version of Christianity. What are they doing in America? They want to ban Christianity. They want to take God out of everything in the society here. It's all about making it secular. It's a secular worldview, which tells me it's coming from something more sinister, which tells me it has nothing to do with Democrat and Republican. It has to do with an ideology and emotion. So I just wanted to really touch on that, because I thought about, well, maybe I should make a video talking about how liberalism is a mental disorder. That would be funny and you guys would probably appreciate it, but I want to talk more seriously about it, because it is a true phenomenon how someone today could hate Donald Trump so much that they would adopt socialism. Someone could hate Donald Trump so much, hate one person. And again, hate is negativity. It's a negative ball of energy that manifests itself in several different ways that you see on a day-to-day basis on the left. Violence, animosity, anger, hostility. I can't even tell you how many friends and family don't want to talk to me, all because I think different than they do, all because I'm not a part of this magical, wonderful, utopian vision that the left is pushing and forcing onto us. You know, I think it truly is a phenomenon that we just need to explore a little bit more. But in the short term, yeah, the short answer, I guess, is liberalism is in fact a mental disorder, but we kind of got to call it what it is. It's rooted in insecurity. It's rooted in failed ideology, and it's all based on emotions which change and fluctuate over time, day to day. That's not healthy. That's not safe. And I definitely don't want to be governed by someone who operates within that framework. So what do you guys think? Sound off in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Follow me on the social media accounts. Let's get my Instagram up to 1,000 followers. I'm getting closer and closer by the day. Just type in MikeNipson813 and I should pop right up. Also, if you want to donate, I'll put links in the description to do so, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.